In this episode of Mighty Car Mods, we're going to put braided brake lines on the MX5.
What he said. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods, proudly supported by Just Car Insurance. Now, in the last episode, we were working on the bracing for the MX5 to make sure we can get more power to the ground and make it awesome and mad. But going faster means we also need to
stop, particularly if you've made your car a lot faster. Now, when we were out on the track, Jeff, the racing driver, said he wished he could brake with a bit more confidence.
So today we're going to give him that confidence by installing a performance braided brake line kit.
Brakes work by transferring force from your foot to the brake calipers through a hydraulic system that squeezes the pads against the brake discs. Factory brake lines are usually made of rubber, and just like anything that moves a lot and gets wet, they age and wear out, so we're updating and upgrading them with a set of braided brake lines.
Okay, this is the most rubbish scientific test you've ever seen, but hopefully it'll highlight the difference between the braided lines and the rubber hose. So here, I've got a balloon which is representing the rubber hose, and I've got this straw which looks like it's something out of Willy Wonka's sex dungeon to represent the braided brake line. Now, if down here is representing the brake caliper and my mouth is representing the master cylinder that's full of the liquid, and this is the braided brake line, you'll see that when I blow it, it just goes straight through the straw, applies the brake, and we're done. If we're using something that's rubber, I'm going to need to use a lot more pressure to get the same result, like this. Alright, so that's a rubbish scientific test, but you can see the difference between a rubber hose and a braided line. That does look like something Willy Wonka would use to do something really wrong. Anyway, Marty is now going to show you the tools that we need.
So these are the tools you're going to need. Now, depending on your car, you may need to take your brakes off, in which case you need all the tools that we've shown in the past. The most important tool you are going to need for this, though, is a flare nut wrench or a flare nut spanner. Now, as you can see, it's got a cutout that lets you go over the brake line to then undo the lines. It's really common to round these things off, so this tool is very important and it's very, very cheap. When you've done that, after we've got it all apart and put it back together, you're going to need to bleed your brakes, so you're going to need some brake fluid. You're also going to need a bit of rubber hose to get that from the caliper down into your container.
Jack up your car and make sure it's safely on jack stands, and then get your wheels off. Check you've got plenty of fluid in your master cylinder, and keep checking it because you'll lose some while you're doing this job.
So we're going to start with the front driver's side brake line. Here's the brake line that's been serving the car for 23 years, stopping it reliably and in a cool convertible manner. This is a brake line that's going on, and this is a pretty good quality one. There is a difference. You are dealing with brakes, so don't skimp on quality for that. There was a time when Mechanical Stig was at a racetrack doing about 160 down a straight, and one of his brake lines let go, and that means no pedal pressure, it just goes to the floor. And with some quick thinking and some handbrake, he managed to save his car. But that can all be prevented if you just get decent quality stuff, and we're going to put it in there, and it's going to be mad.
And you can really see the difference, Marty, that when it comes down to the pressure there of having a rubber hose versus that braided line, I mean, in an ideal world with hydraulics, you would just have a fixed steel pipe. But being that this needs to move because it's connected to a wheel, then a braided line is the next best thing.
Exactly.
And of course, make sure you don't mess with your brakes unless you have the right skills and the right tools. A flared spanner will prevent you from rounding off the brake line fittings. Loosen the nut before you remove the brake line clip so it doesn't move around. Use a drip pan to save your driveway from mess, or you can lay down some cardboard.
Okay, now when you pull off this banjo bolt, there's almost always two washers. One goes on that side, then it goes through your caliper line, and then it goes into your caliper like that. And make sure you don't lose them. If you do and you put the brakes on, all the fluid will piss out of there and you'll have no brakes.
Next, remove the hose clip and remove the old brake line. Make sure everything's clean, pull up your shorts, and then install the new braided line. The quicker you can do this, the less fluid you'll lose. And don't forget to top up the master cylinder. Next up, we're going to go to work on the rear, Marty's favourite.
The next thing we need to do is install this splitter. Now on the MX5 there's a line coming down from the master cylinder in the engine bay all the way down to this splitter, and then it sends it down to this caliper and then up over the other side. With a Subaru, for example, it's actually split in the engine bay and there's one going down to each wheel at the rear side, but with this we need to get rid of it because that hose is connected with that splitter. So we replace it with this one, and then we got mad braided lines to each of the rear brakes.
Not all cars have this setup. If you're lucky, it's just 2 basic lines, and the process is the same as the front. Screw in the brake line fittings by hand and make sure you don't cross-thread them, and then check again that everything's clean.
So when the brakes are finished, Marty, it's just cooling to do.
Yep, radiator and a coolant bypass, dude, that's it.
That was the biggest problem we found, wasn't it? Was the actual cooling on the track.
Well, yeah, the thing is it will do a couple of laps, no worries, like perfectly, but if you keep into it, like I think we got to about 5 of really, really hard laps on a fairly hot day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got really hot. And they all do that apparently, turbo MX5s, a lot of them do it.
Yeah, right.
So, apparently a coolant rear out and a bigger radiator will solve it.
Yeah. Which is what we're doing next time, Marty, and then it's back to the track.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. How many seconds do you reckon it's actually going to be quicker though?
Well,
That's what I'm interested to know.
I was trying to figure that out. Like it's I think it's realistic to shave off a good 4 or 5 seconds. I mean, the better tyres are going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
There's also some sway bars, which is like 2 bolts and just throw them in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be very interested to know.
I'm just interested to see if we get back to the track and he just goes, yeah, it's just as slow as it was before. Have you done any mods yet? And you're like, yes we have. You know?
Whoops. No, I'm confident. I'm confident it'll be faster. It already feels like better, just with the stuff we've done so far. The tyres make a huge difference. Like it won't wheel spin anymore in a straight line. Like we used to, you could just get it a bit in first and it would spin.
Yeah, yeah.
And so even more grip on the back has kind of solved that for now. Obviously one day it needs a better diff, but that's really expensive to do that. So
yeah,
that's further down the line.
Next up, we need to bleed the brakes, get some quality fluid, and keep checking the level to make sure you aren't pumping air. Then we need to expel any air and old fluid that's left in the system. This process can differ between cars, so check online or check a workshop manual for your car. And that's it, we're all done.
So there it is, braided brake lines, throwing some 23-year-old parts in the bin.
Now whether it was braided lines or whether it's just replacing them, rubber does perish, and it's not exactly like your car's like a barnacle that can grow another penis. That's a fact, by the way. So the thing is, now that's been taken care of, there's only a couple of things more to do, Marty, and then we're back to the track. What's the plan from here on in?
The plan is to fix that cooling issue to make sure it doesn't overheat anymore, throw some bigger sway bars in it, which is a couple of bolts, and maybe some bigger brakes if I can get my hands on some.
And then hopefully we get back to the track and actually take some seconds on. If we're not doing quicker like track times, there's something seriously wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was fun modifying anyway.
Yeah, it was great, and we got to hang out. That was nice, wasn't it, Martin?
Exactly.
For all the crazy news and the latest things that are happening in the world of Mighty Car Mods, of course, make sure you keep your eyeballs on the Faceballs. That's facebook.com/Mighty Car Mods. We put lots of extra stuff there and giveaways and things, so go check that out. And for now, I'm going to go and have some vegetable soup.
It's always the food thing, isn't it, when we finish?
I'm
Why do you
always
reckon that is?
hungry. I'm like a bush rat, man. I'm
Yeah.
just nibbling on anything. I don't care what it is.
Really?
Just
What do bush rats actually nibble on, do you know?
They nibble on a lot of genitals, actually.
No.
They just have sex all the time. They
Bush
just,
rats?
yeah, they just eat and have sex. Some of them have sex so much they die. Like they die from exhaustion because they're just having sex so much.
Wow.
That's a fact.
I want to be a bush rat.
Pissing on my car.
Dude, that cat is pissing on your car.
That cat is.
Look at it. It's all
How's it
backed up against it, man.
How's it managing to urinate out its butthole?
It's got a special gland thing that sprays its stink.
It's spraying its stink on my new car.
That's how it marks its territory.